Some of the greatest stories ever told start behind bars. A dark, dank, cockroach-infested 8x6 cell. This is your world. It takes a devious mind to find a way out. But when you have nothing left to lose, wouldn't you try?
Bienvenidos a este espacio de M2 donde siempre tenemos a las grandes figuras del entretenimiento y mucho más. Y en esta ocasión tenemos a la voz de Dios. Bueno, a la voz de todo. Es que es Morgan Freeman, este extraordinario actor que además hace unas narrativas brutales. Y la historia de hoy, la historia que ya se acaba de estrenar en History Channel, tiene que ver con los grandes escapes de todos los tiempos. Y sí, incluye al Chapo Guzmán. Así que, en una plática casual, agradable, damas y caballeros, Morgan Freeman.
Mr. Freeman, it's amazing to see you again. We've had a chance to talk for so many years about your wonderful movies and your characters. And I'm always impressed about your curiosity as an actor and now as a documentalist. Is it the same kind of curiosity that brings you to do one great thing to another?
I suppose, yes, Suzanne. I do have curiosity. I'm a big student of history and historical events, and this series offers me that opportunity again.
So hi, Jeffrey. Thank you so much for joining us too. And I find that this amazing escapes is something that we're always interested in, but we don't really know the half of it. So what have you discovered, both of you as producers, as narrators, as journalists, because that's what you are, that we didn't know before? What are we going to see?
Well, primarily, I think what we didn't know before is how it was done, the details of how these people pulled off these escapes. It's not just, it doesn't take more, it does. It takes more than a notion.
Right.
To pull something like that off. And you're not going to do it in a few days. It's going to take you some years for the most part, particularly these great ones, these ones that we find that are just amazing, unbelievable. Danamora. Nobody could do that, but they did.
Yeah.
So the big question to us is, my goodness, how?
Yeah. And did you guys get answers? How?
Because yes, that's the whole point of the series, that we show you how they did it. We give you step by step the details of what they did from moment to moment, almost day to day, week to week, month to month, year to year. Getting out of a maximum security prison is probably one of the most daring attempts that humans can indulge in. And the amount of ingenuity, the amount of courage, the amount of perseverance, stick-to-itivity that it takes to do something like this is probably one of the more fascinating things about human nature that we lock up in prisons.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the beginning of it, isn't it? I mean, why do we do that as human beings to one another? And the human nature of needing to escape the situation, no matter what brought you there. You guys actually went to many prisons, I believe. And that must have been a very interesting and terrifying experience, or was that so?
No. Unfortunately, for the story, we didn't go to all these prisons. It's just not cost effective to do that. In today's world, with technology as it is, you can create the interior of a prison.
But you did recreate a lot of those scenes. I know that technology is amazing for what I saw, because we're only going to get to see the chapters now. It's like if you were there, because I believe it's also like very much in the past, right? We're not going to talk about El Chapo Guzmán. We're going to talk about Alcatraz and all those things.
We do talk about both old and new escapes. And in fact, El Chapo is one of the great episodes of this first run. And Morgan loved that story too, as did we. It's kind of different because in El Chapo, you don't have a sort of poor, helpless, prisoner. You've got this multi-billionaire prisoner with all this outside help. But, you know, Morgan and myself and the team, we were always fascinated by the way they use technology in that story, because it's so different from the other stories. The fact that they had this GPS watch and that they had to go a mile underground to come up in his shower stall. I mean, you know, again, El Chapo might not be a great, you know, positive figure, but it was fascinating that they figured this out. I mean, it was incredibly complicated, right?
Not only figured it out, pulled it off.
Pulled it off.
Pulled it
Right?
off.
Yeah, we couldn't believe it. Obviously, Mr. Freeman, people are going to remember Shawshank Redemption. I hope I pronounced it right. And everybody's going to remember what your character was like, the way he narrated things, and especially the fact, and I'm not going to say the ending because I hope a lot of people go back to it, but what happens to him?
There are a few people who
Like 3 people, or new people. People who
right.
So was that sort of an inspiration for you to do this documentary series?
No, not at all. The inspiration for doing this documentary series was the fact that Jeffrey and James Younger came up with it.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, once they've gotten it and they say, oh, we got this terrific project that we're doing about great prison escapes. So are you interested in being part of it and narrating? We really want to say, yeah, of course. Yeah.
I would add that, Susanna, it is true that obviously when you're thinking about a project, there isn't anyone else that you would want to have narrating a prison escape series than Morgan, because of his kind of, you know, iconic relationship to that famous movie. So he brings a certain, you know, credibility to the subject.
Well, I think I agree completely, and you bring, Mr. Freeman, a credibility to any subject, the biggest of all. I mean, we're talking, we're coming from God to this.
Listen to yourself.
I was watching the promo you did with David Chappelle. That was the funniest thing I've seen in a long time. So you become officially, I think, history's narrator right now. Your voice is the voice that we hear when we think of narrating history in the present and towards the future. Is that meaningful for you in particular? I know it is.
Well, yeah, I guess I'll have to say yes. It keeps me working.
Is that it? But is that it? I mean, you're such a great artist in every sense of the word. Yes, you're always working. We're always seeing you doing things. Do you feel the need to create new spaces to do what you do best? Because I don't know anything that you would do that I wouldn't run to see or watch or listen or, you know.
Well, that's really terrific to hear. But no, I'm good for whatever, as long as I think it's a good project and a worthy effort.
Well, I know our time is almost running up, but I'm amazed that we're going to see El Chapo. I know we're going to see Alcatraz. Was there anything else that particularly surprised both of you about these escapes? A certain story that we should be looking out for in History Channel?
I think the only really surprising thing about Great Escapes is that they were escapes. You know, a maximum security prison is not called maximum security for nothing.
Right.
So that someone goes in there with the audacity, that's the mental audacity to say, I'm going to get out of here. You're going to stick with them to see if they do.
True. How about you, Jeffrey?
Well, I think that I think one of the most interesting things is that the escapes turned out to be even crazier, wilder, and more involved than we thought when we just, you know, initially found the headline, you know. So that one of the most amazing things is that in all these stories, once we started doing the research, oh my God, it's even more amazing and kind of, you know, incredible that they pulled it off. You know, that was kind of what I was most shocked by.
They certainly did. Just to end this, they usually say history is told by the winners, but right now history is being recorded and told many different ways. You know, either immediately on social media, and then people just get their own ideas about what happened and they don't get the whole picture. Who tells the story now? I love History Channel precisely because of that. But who tells these stories and what becomes history? What do you guys believe remain?
That's a serious question.
It is.
Let
It is. Well, like you said, because we've got all of this social media and stuff, I don't know what stories you can believe without, if you don't come with authentication, everybody is telling the story. So the ones that are authenticated are probably the ones that are really telling the story for the History Channel. Otherwise, it's just rumor.
Por supuesto, no podíamos olvidar esa gran película, ¿no? Sueños de fuga, le pusieron aquí Shawshank Redemption. Practica uno para decirle eso, Morgan Freeman. Pero finalmente, mucho más de que esté relacionado con esos temas por esta película, es una de las grandes, grandes voces de todos los tiempos para envolvernos en una gran narrativa y llevarnos a donde nunca imaginamos. Esto es M2 y como siempre, con las grandes figuras. Muchísimas gracias por acompañarnos. Gracias, equipo. Ivette, Caro, Alicia, gracias por el acceso a todo esto. César, yo soy Susi Moscatel. Hasta la próxima.
But even the best laid plans can go wrong.
There's 2 holes in the cells. There are 2 inmates gone. Oh,
It's one of the largest manhunts in history.
He's already panicked, and then he gets stopped.
He got his arm caught in the rope when he was coming down, and